What's up, Hambone here, and this is my review of Killzone Shadowfall. What is Killzone Shadowfall? It is the first game Guerrilla Games has developed for the PlayStation 4, and for many it was considered to be the big exclusive at launch for the PlayStation 4. So does it meet expectations of being the first true next-gen shooter? Well, I hope this review will help you decide. The game is honestly the best looking game on next-gen, well now current-gen consoles that I've played. It is a relatively big step up from last-gen graphics, and just to give you a relative comparison to last-gen consoles, the only two games that I've played that come close to meeting this game graphically are The Last of Us and Halo 4, though you more than likely won't be able to tell how great this game looks in this video because of how YouTube compresses videos. The game does have a very nice gloss to it, and there are plenty of details to be seen in the world you are playing in. The guns themselves are definitely a huge step up, and they seem to have put a lot of time into making them look better and for them not just to be something you were holding. My first complaint though about this game comes from its frame rate. While it does run at 60 frames per second and at 1080p, most of the time it will drop frames every now and then, and it is very noticeable when this happens. While it is an occurrence that doesn't happen too often, it does so all over the place, even when there's not much happening on screen. And when comparing this to a game like Resogun, which runs at a hard 60 frames per second, it makes you wonder what could have been done to avoid this frame rate droppage. The story for this game is set after Killzone 3, where the Helghast planet was destroyed and billions were killed. The Helghast have moved to Vecton and are taking over part of the planet to call their own, since theirs is now uninhabitable. You play as Lucas Kellen, whose father was killed during the Helghast evacuation of Vecton. He is then taken in by Sinclair, a Shadow Marshal, who in return raises him to be a Shadow Marshal himself. The campaign for this game was a bit of a surprise for me. As someone who's never been impressed with a Killzone game's story before, this game's tale was quite interesting, after getting past the first couple of chapters, which felt like nothing more than a standard FPS story. The campaign is about 10 chapters long, and the first and last are both very short, with the first being a tutorial and the last being about 10 minutes at most. The game can be beaten in 8 hours on normal difficulty, as long as you're not searching everywhere for collectibles. Speaking of collectibles, they are just there to add a reason to go back to the campaign and add more of a grind for trophies rather than adding anything in terms of true replayability. Though I will say the audio logs were quite interesting, with their sound coming out of the controller's speaker, and they add a lot of interesting backstory to the levels you are playing. The campaign also does a nice job of keeping things fresh, as it added a lot of different gameplay options throughout levels, giving you a different ability to use in each one, keeping the gameplay fresh during the campaign, and it tried to steer away from the standard just shoot these enemies feel. Some examples being, in some levels you have access to your owl with all of its abilities, then in some you are in space floating around with a bit of a rocket launcher, and in another you can hack certain objects and control them while giving commands to a sniper. The gameplay for this game is a bit of a shortcoming for it though. Your character feels like a tank while walking around, and with you only being able to adjust your sensitivity of your aim in percents of 10, it can be hard to find that perfect aim for yourself since the jumps are so big. At times the actions themselves are not responsive either, an example being when I would go to reload my character would sometimes not do so, and I would have to press the button again. I even tested to make sure I wasn't reloading too soon, and even after waiting a second or two, my character just would not do it sometimes. Also during the campaign, your owl will just sometimes not respond to your commands, even when you are close enough to a target and the icon has gotten brighter, indicating you could use the ability. The controls for the game feel relatively rushed, and I wish that they would have put more time into fine-tuning them. I initially did not like the multiplayer for this game, partly due to your character's movement speed, but I did press on, and after playing some more matches I did find there was quite a lot of fun to be found here. The main game type that you'll be playing is Warzone, which is a best of 5 rotating game mode. The modes that you will play are TDM, Beacon, Search and Destroy, and Domination. All of these game modes are quite fun, yet I will say Beacon and Search and Destroy are my personal favorites because they end up being more fast-paced than the other two and lead to more gunfights more often. TDM is a bit of a problem sometimes though, mainly due to the fact that some of these maps are just too big for the game mode for it to be fun. While not all maps are too big for it, the ones that are just feel extremely boring when playing TDM because there is no objective and it can be hard to find people to kill a lot of the time. The maps themselves are quite nice aside from the bigger ones. My personal favorite is called Trenches, I believe, simply because it had more of a personality than the others, which just felt like generic maps, and this map actually felt like you should be having a war there. One major problem though is spawn camping on certain maps. Certain maps it is just too easy to do, and while it is a legitimate strategy, it can lead to very boring games when you get the opponent trapped in their spawn because it ends up just being you and your teammates fighting over kills and eventually the other team quitting or just not coming out of their spawn, which leads to a poor experience for you, your teammates, and the other team. Now I understand why there is a set spawn, but having a mobile spawn or being able to flip the spawns to somewhere else would help alleviate this problem. While I did find the multiplayer for this game to be fun, I don't think this game will have much sticking power for a lot of players, simply because the gameplay for it is still too slow. And I think a lot of players will move on to games where the maps are smaller and the gameplay is a little bit faster, where they can find more action, and only a group of niche players will stay on this game. So when it comes to buying this game, I honestly feel that it depends on your preference for FPSs, and I cannot give a definite yes for this game. If you like the feel of a game like Battlefield, then this might be a game you will enjoy. And I would say go ahead and buy it. But if you prefer a more fast-paced shooter like Call of Duty, you might want to skip this game, as you might not like the gameplay and the feel of it. If you like this review, be sure to give this video a like, and if you're new to my channel, be sure to check out the rest of it. And if you're looking forward to PlayStation 4 gameplay, I will have plenty of that going up starting next week. And yeah, be sure to subscribe for that, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.